Alright, now this is a long video and it's not the best quality, but hear me out. Just hit the like on the video and put it in your pocket and listen, because this is an important Aron speech that I think if you pay attention to AMC at all, watching YouTube videos, watching the chart, this is a very, very valuable thing to listen to.
And we're starting the weekend off right together. I think that there may be two of you in this auditorium tonight who came to watch Titanic and have no clue why this guy keeps on grabbing the microphone and interrupting the movie. But for the rest of you, I'm just guessing maybe, by any chance, are you apes? Even we have front row apes here. By the way, these seats were all bought, but the people like one row behind you aren't here, so you might be able to move back one and get a better view. Not yet. Let's wait and see what happens. All right, folks, the last 3 years have been the craziest 3 years of our lives. I want you to take you back to December of 2019. I don't want to say that anybody in this room or that AMC was fat, dumb, and happy. But we were fat, dumb, and happy. How oblivious were we to how our lives were going to change in a couple of months? I remember in February of 23, we got our first order from the city fathers of Milan in Italy to close a half a dozen theaters. That was February 23. And we have 1,000 theaters at AMC, just under. I thought, well, it's no big deal. We're closing. Remember, we'd heard about COVID sort of started, was that called the coronavirus? And we sort of heard about it in January of 23. But it was in China. It didn't look like it was leaving China. February, it jumped to Italy, because somebody went from China to Italy and took it with. And even in February of 23, I remember thinking, well, okay, it's 6 theaters out of 1,000. It's not the end of the world. 3 weeks later, AMC had to shut all 1,000 of our theaters that we had in the entire world in 3 weeks. And we went from a company that had $5.5 billion a year of revenue, very reliable, good times, bad times, 5.4 billion, no problem. 800 million dropped to the bottom line every year, no problem. In a week, we went to having no revenue at all, none. In a week, and we still had bills, and we still had 30,000 employees, and we owed rent on leases at 1,000 theaters in a dozen countries, and on and on and on. And it became very clear, as strong as our company was, we still are the biggest movie theater chain in the world. We were going to run out of cash in 90 days. Like amazing. And we scrambled, and we raised a lot of money. In April of 2020, we raised $500 million. And that bought us a few months. And then in July, we raised another $300 million. That bought us a few more months. And in December, we've been raising money, staying alive, beating the sheriff by a day, and everybody thought the movie industry was going to come roaring back, but it didn't. And by December of 2020, my CFO and I, he's a very talented guy, CFO is Chief Financial Officer, we realized that we kept on raising $200-300 million, it wasn't enough. So we announced with some bravado that we were going to raise $750 million. It was going to buy us all the way to March or April or May or something. And if we didn't, we might have to throw in the towel. Well, we didn't raise $750 million. We raised $1.2 billion in 5 weeks.
Hey, wow.
And then you arrived. Because we put out a press release on a Monday morning in late January of 2021 saying we raised $1.2 billion and bankruptcy's off the table and we've made it. And literally the next day, retail investors descended on AMC. And the stock went from $2 a share, where it was in early January, to 10, which is 5 times. And then went to 20, which was 10 times. And then 30, and 40, and 50, and 60. And a lot of you and your fellow apes descended on AMC, and you decided that single-handedly you were going to save this company, and you were going to save moviegoing in America. Well, let me tell you how important moviegoing in America is. People in this country have been going to movies for a century. A century. It's, other than going to go out and eat a meal at a restaurant, it is the second most popular thing to do out of home in the United States. In 2019, the movie industry total, not just AMC, sold 1 billion movie tickets. That's 3 times a year for every man, woman, child, and baby in the United States. So a lot of tickets. You want to know how many tickets that is? We're here, like in Phoenix, a lot of people, this weekend to see the Super Bowl. If you take the attendance of every NFL team, all season long, all the games, and you add that to the attendance of every NBA game, every team in the league, all season long, and every team in the NHL and Major League Soccer, and even throw in the 162 games that every baseball team plays in the United States and in the MLB. You take all of that, all those tickets, all those teams, all those cities, all those leagues. Movie theaters sold 7 times that number of tickets in 2019. So, and like, people like going to theaters. You know, we kept reading in the press, 25-year-old journalists saying, movie theaters are anachronism, no one wants to go to theaters. Well, guess what the pandemic taught us? When all of us were imprisoned in our houses or apartments for months on end. Like, your house is really nice, but you want to get out of it. And one of the things that people do when they get out of the house is they go to a theater, they sit in these nice cushy seats, they get entertained, they get amused, they get to escape their daily lives. Moviegoing has been a big thing in this country for 100 years. And what our retail investors decided is that you were going to be damned if Wall Street was going to take us down.
Damn right.
You invested a lot of money, hard-earned money, in putting it in our direction and seeing keep AMC strong. And that's exactly what we've been doing for almost 3 years now as we try to get past this horrible pandemic, which admittedly has hit the movie theater industry very hard. Because we know what we're doing at AMC, and because we have your support. At the end of the third quarter of 2022, September 30, we haven't announced the December 31 results yet. We do that in a couple of weeks. AMC had around $900 million of cash in the bank or undrawn revolving credit line. Contrast that with the number 2 player in the industry, which is Regal here in the United States and Cineworld in Europe.
Never heard of it.
They ran out of cash. Well, you heard of Regal, right?
No.
Regal.
I'm AMC 100% through and through. Who?
They ran out of money in September. They went to bankruptcy court. We had $900 million in the bank. They had $4 million in the bank. You can't run a company this big with $4 million. You'll run out of cash within like 72 hours. And while others in our industry failed, AMC was strong.
Choke on that.
Choke on that. I agree. We did it because the management team at AMC knows what we're doing, and we did it because we had your support. So I'd like to ask you to do me a favor. You take your right hand. I'm not going to ask you to like a pledge or anything. Just, you take your right hand, put it behind your head, pat yourself on the back, because I'm telling you, folks, you saved AMC.
Woo!
That's looking back. Let's look forward.
Pay it forward.
The We have a proposal right now that will be voted on by our shareholders to put together the so-called APE common, the AMC common shares and the APE preferred units. I just cannot stress the votes on March 14th. You're all going to get mailed proxy materials the next couple of days. I just can't tell you how important it is that you vote yes in this election. And you tell your friends if they're AMC shareholders to vote yes. And I'm going to explain why. Back in the summer, the only reason we're here today is because we were able to raise a lot of money. We were able to outlast this pandemic. And we tried in the summer of 2021 to raise a lot more money. And I urged shareholders to vote yes back then, you may recall. If we had sold 125 million shares in the summer of 2021 to the general public, we would have raised $5 billion of cash, and AMC would be totally debt-free today.
Yep.
And every short seller would be dead.
Vaporized.
Instead, though, we couldn't get the vote. And we did other things, and we're still here, and we still have plenty of money, but we still have $5 billion of debt. And if we tried to sell 125 million shares now, 60 million apes and 60 million AMC common, we wouldn't raise $5 billion. We wouldn't even raise $500 million. And it's a very different company because we didn't raise $5 billion in the summer of 2021. Having said that, if you vote, when we announced this plan to put the apes and the AMC common shares back together, the apes were trading on the open market, decided by market forces. Whether you think the market forces are fair or unfair, the market is the market. Apes were selling for 69 cents on December 21, the day before we announced this plan. Those apes have almost quadrupled in value in a month and a half. Quadrupled in value because of the plan to put the APE preferred units and the AMC common shares back together. But let me tell you, if we vote yes, we will be able to raise a lot more money and give up far fewer shares to do it. But if our shareholders vote no, what goes up can go down. Those apes were selling for 70 cents a month ago, and they were trading at 240 today or something. But they can go back down to 70 cents in a day if shareholders vote the wrong way. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want your AMC shares and your APE units to be worth more money, not less money. And I want to be able to raise money for AMC so we outlast this pandemic and do it at $2 or $3 a share, not at 40 cents or 50 cents or 60 cents a share. We'll have to give up 4 or 5 times as many shares to raise the same amount of cash. So that's the plea. We should, as a company, as a community, we should have sold shares in the summer of 2021, but we couldn't get the shareholders to say yes. We're trying again. We really need you to vote yes. And if you do vote yes, what do I think is going to happen? I don't know if you know why AMC shares have fallen so much in the last year. But there are a lot of reasons. One reason is just 2022 was the worst year for stocks, generally, not AMC, not movie theater, all stocks. It was the worst year for stocks in this country in 15 years. Why? Because interest rates are soaring, inflation is soaring, there's a war in Ukraine, energy prices are up, people's mood is sour, like it's not good. But that's one reason. But there's a second reason. The movie theater industry has recovered very slowly from COVID. And I'm going to run some numbers by you real quick. The basic size of the movie theater industry is denominated by something called the domestic box office. The domestic box office is all ticket sales, all theaters, all brands in the United States and Canada. There's sort of two numbers that everybody follows in the movie business. The domestic box office and the global box office. Domestic is US and Canada, global is everywhere on Earth. For 11 years in a row, from 2009 to 2019, the box office was larger, the domestic box office, was larger than $10 billion. The last 5 years of those 11, from 2015 to 2019, the domestic box office was more than $11 billion. Pretty stable and growing. What happened when COVID hit? The box office fell from 2019, $11.4 billion, 2019 being the last full year before the pandemic, to $2 billion. From $11.5 billion to $2 billion in a year. The next year, 2021, it was $4.5 billion. That's up. That's more than double. That's good. Still a lot less than $11 billion. The year that was just completed, 2022, again, it grew. It was $7.4 billion. It's a lot more than 4.5. It's a lot more than 2.0. But if you go back to the size of the industry before the pandemic, $7.5 billion is still a lot less than $11.5 billion. And so the recovery of the movie theater industry has been slow. Now, back in 2020, people might not have been going to theaters because they were afraid to be with people. But look at you all. We're not wearing masks anymore. Like, we might elbow bump and fist bump a little more than we shake hands, but like, you're here, you're together, you're not scared. And you're not going to catch COVID in this room. There's been an immunity that's developed across the country, herd immunity it's called, plus a lot of you are vaccinated, and there are drugs now where if you get COVID, called Paxlovid, you can take a pill. By the way, it tastes awful, this pill. Terrible if anyone's ever taken it. But, like, it knocks out COVID in 12 hours. In 2020, COVID might have been a death sentence. Now it's just like a bad cold or a small flu. Very, very different. But so, like, ages ago, you might have been afraid to go to theaters. Not now. People are going to theaters. How do I know? Anybody see a movie called Top Gun Maverick?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It sold $1.5 billion of tickets in movie theaters. Anybody hear of a movie called Avatar, The Way of Water?
Woo!
It has sold, in less than 2 months, $2.1 billion of movie theaters.
Aw, yeah.
People are going to theaters to see movies, as we all are tonight. But here's the dirty little secret. Not so secret, I keep on tweeting it. If you look at the number of movies that major Hollywood studios released in 2019, it was around 120 movies or so. You know how many they released in 2022? 72. It's way down. Our problem isn't that people are afraid to go to theaters or that it's not safe to go to theaters. Our problem is just there are fewer movies being released. But let's look ahead, let's not look back. In 2023, the number of major movies that are going to be released by major studios should be right around 100. That's a 35% jump above the 72 movies that the industry released in 2022. So when you look at the box office in 2023, it's going to be bigger than it was in 2022. And we, because we got a pretty good insight into this, we know what movies are coming in 2024. And there should be more movies coming out in 24 than there will be in 2023. So when you look at the movie theater industry, it's true that COVID knocked us onto our knees in 2020. And it's probably going to be a 5-year climb to get out of it and to get back where we once were. But 21 was better than 20, and 22 was better than 21. 23 is going to be better than 22. 24 is going to be better than 2023. And so when I look ahead, I think the times are bright for the movie theater industry generally and for AMC individually. But we got to get there. We got to outlast it. And here's how you outlast it. You put money in the bank to outlast it. And a lot of you on Twitter and other places keep on thinking, how do you crush short sellers? I'll tell you how you crush short sellers. You do so well in the performance of a company that the so-called short thesis that movie theaters are an anachronism and they're going to die, that it just goes away. And so the way to beat them is to be strong. And the way to be strong, grow our revenues, grow our profits, and above all else, make sure we have cash in the bank. And when you vote to put the APES and the AMC common shares back together again, that's going to allow us to raise cash, to put money in the bank, to make sure that we can stare anyone in the eye and say, what do we say? We say choke
On that.
Yeah, right. So that's the state of play at AMC, guys. We were in great shape. We were the biggest and best movie theater chain in the world, and then COVID came. We're still the biggest and best movie theater chain in the world, but COVID has knocked away a lot of our revenues because the movies weren't being released. But finally, we're seeing big numbers in movies coming out. Our future is very bright, and we wouldn't be in this position to make it for another day or another month or another year if it weren't for all of you. I tweeted something just this morning, and probably many of you know that I'm active on Twitter, because it's an opportunity for me to talk to you, and believe it or not, it's an opportunity for you to talk back. I put out 6 tweets this morning, or today. Do you know how many replies I got today?
Lots.
4,000 individual replies to my tweets. And you know what I did before this screening the other time? I read all 4,000. It's a lot of them, but it's easy to do because they're like, it's 280 characters. It's like 30 words. This is not a lot of reading. I can read. I mean, my little feeble mind and brain sometimes is weak, but I can read 30 words really carefully and really quickly. And if I got to do it 4,000 times, so be it. And because it gives me a chance to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And what I tweeted this morning, which is straight from my heart, is what gives me energy every day, what drives me every single day, is knowing that you're out there, knowing that I have your support, knowing that you love this company, you're rooting for this company, you're on our side, and I'm on your side. And yeah, it's true I sold some stock in 2021, which I told people I was going to do months and months and months in advance. I was turning 68 years old in 2021, and I was trying to put my financial house in order. I did things like update my wills and set up trusts for my kids. Like, I hadn't done that stuff before, but it was time finally once and for all to acknowledge that I'm not 28 anymore, and sometimes you got to grow up and be an adult. But I haven't sold a share since January of 2022, and I own millions of shares in this company.
Silverback.
I'm the largest individual investor in AMC. So make no mistake, and I've always said I'm not selling any shares anytime soon. So make no mistake, I believe in this company. I believe in its future. I get my energy from you. I've said I ride with you, and I mean it all. And with that as my little State of the Union tonight, here's what we're going to do. Titanic is only the 3rd highest grossing movie of all time. That's it. Just the 3rd highest grossing movie of all time. And maybe the ship won't sink. I don't know yet.
First to escape.
And they're all rescued. What a happy ending. But it happened 100 years ago, so we sort of know it should have happened. Anyway, we're going to watch the movie together. After the movie's over, for those of you who just want to leave, out the door you go over there. If you want to stay and talk to me, take pictures, autographs, whatever you want, I'll stay all night. I got nothing to do but you. I came to Phoenix for you guys tonight. And with that, before I cue the movie, I just want to make one thank you. You see some people standing in red over here. This is some of the management team at AMC Phoenix Desert Ridge 18. And I specifically want to call out one person in particular by name to say thank you to Pete for his hard work and that of the whole team.
Let's go, Pete! Woo!
That's this little thing. Pete Jaeger over there, wave your hand, Pete, has only been with AMC for 45 years.
Woo!
And I have it on very good authority that pretty soon he's going to figure out how to run a good movie theater. And I think you have the highest seniority of anybody in the company, right? Yeah. So
Pete's the man!
Pete's the man.
Let's go, Pete!
Thank you for everything you've done for our company for half a century. Thanks to your team. Let's all enjoy James Cameron's Titanic, and I'll see you after the movie's over.